Thank you, Mr. President. Join my colleagues in a discussion over the relief package we're going to be voting on later this week. But we need to go back to last year and recognize what happened in these chambers on 5 different occasions. And I've been in the Senate now for 6 years, and very seldom, Mr. President, do we see both parties come together and recognize we have a problem and we have to relieve the American people. We had a historic pandemic, first of a kind in 100 years. COVID hit our shores. What did we do? We spent days and weeks, but over the course of those days and weeks, we came together with 5 bipartisan packages that really addressed the root problems, the challenges created by COVID. We passed the Paycheck Protection Program, something that I think was extraordinary. The banking community got together, even before we had the rules on how the loans should be underwritten and how they would be forgiven, and they decided to mobilize and provide desperately needed capital and liquidity to businesses, and they saved many, many businesses in North Carolina. We passed Operation Warp Speed, a program that for the first time in this nation's history, or any nation's history, we went from a known virus to multiple vaccines with high degrees of efficacy that are now being put into the arms of Americans at a rate of almost 2 million a day. We did that because we focused on a problem and we fixed it and we continue to evolve it. 5 different bipartisan bills. Now the 6th one's before us. It's called a COVID relief package, but Mr. President, we all know that much of what's in this bill has nothing to do with the COVID impacts and nothing to do with immediate spending in this coming year. Now I understand elections have consequences. It's been said by President Obama and others, and we have a change of leadership here in the Senate, a change of leadership in the White House. But I really hate that we're going to leave a mark, probably and hopefully the last bill that would have some COVID relief in it is going to go down as one of the most probably partisan fights that we're going to have this year on this floor later this week. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle have decided to go it alone. That's exactly what you're going to see in full display come Thursday this week when we go into what we call vote-a-rama. I feel like we have to be intellectually honest with the American people. We know that we have to provide more relief. We know that people are struggling, businesses are struggling, individuals are struggling. I get all that. And that's why I wish so much that we were going to have another bill laid down on the floor that was going to get strong bipartisan support. But to call this bill that's coming before us this week a COVID relief package, I think is being dishonest with the American people. This chart probably best illustrates what the American people need to understand. That's how much is in this bill that is legitimately focused on the crisis that we're trying to continue to manage through very targeted, focused dollars, American taxpayer dollars, and in this case, as some of my colleagues have said, they're not even dollars we've collected yet. We're going to collect them from my 2 granddaughters and future generations. A $1.9 trillion package with about 9% going to something that you could reasonably argue has a nexus with the impact of COVID, whether it's on individuals, whether it's people out of work, whether it's businesses that are trying to make payroll. That's a fact, 9%. Now, I feel like at some point, we need to get back to what we did on 5 different occasions before. We knew businesses were failing. They needed relief. We gave them the Paycheck Protection Program. We knew that people were out of work because of business closures. Maybe you had to take off work because you didn't have daycare, because your school was closed. All of those are legitimate reasons to provide additional relief. That's what we should be voting on this week. And in small part we are, but in large part, we're not. I think it was someone in the Obama administration who was famously quoted for saying, "Never waste a crisis." And it looks like to me that this crisis is being used to advance policy discussions that we should have a debate on the floor, but we're not going to have that. We're going to have a vote with a simple majority, not rising to the gold standard in this institution for 60 votes. And we're going to pass things that have virtually nothing, and in most cases, absolutely nothing, to do with COVID. How on earth can you provide education funding and say that you're doing it for COVID impacts? And much of that money, the majority of the money, is not even going to be spent until beginning in 2022 and then playing out in 2028. How can you say that has anything to do with the immediate crisis of getting these kids back in school, making sure that teachers are safe, making sure that we can recover from what I think will be irreparable damage for a number of students who have never been allowed to go back into school? And Mr. President, when we talk about the economic stimulus payments, there's a lot of people that need help. There's a lot of people that need a check. But the proposal that I've seen, the proposal we're going to vote on this week, is giving money to people who would like it. I can understand why it's very popular. Who wouldn't in this chamber want to think that they're going to get a $3,000 or $4,000 check in the mail? Whether you are out of work at all, whether your combined household income is $150,000 and you're still working, you weren't impacted by it. I understand why it's popular, but is it really fair? You know, there's a trailer park in Antioch, Tennessee on Richards Road. I grew up in it. And I ride there when I go visit my family. I go back and visit with people who live in that trailer park. My guess is almost every single one of them need help. And my guess is many of them who work in the service industry have been out of work for the better part of the last year. We should tell them, you're going to get some help, but that neighborhood that's about a mile down the road from that trailer park I grew up in, where you've got combined household incomes of $150,000, both the husband and wife are working, both of the kids have daycare options, they're going to get it too. Is it really fair for the people that are struggling the most? Is it really fair to say that we're providing education relief and it's not going to be spent until I would have to run for a re-election again, 2028? I think we need to be honest with the American people. If we want to have a debate about all of the red, all of the money that's going to be committed this week that has nothing to do with COVID relief, let's be honest with the American people. What we're doing this week, I think, is dishonest. What we're doing this week is bailing out states like my state of North Carolina, a $4 billion surplus this year. Bailing out the state of North Carolina, New York, Illinois, California. Instead of trying to use that money, which we don't have, but if we need to spend it, let's spend it on those folks that grew up like I did. Let's spend it on the businesses that may shutter their doors. Let's do that. Let's let that be the sixth bipartisan COVID relief package that we put together, not what we're going to be forced to vote with this week. Mr. President, I hope the American people know we Republicans recognize people are hurting and we want to give them help. We've proven that because we voted in 5 different instances on a bipartisan basis to do that. What the leadership of this chamber is doing this week is taking us down a course to where we'll probably never have a chance to come back together and have that kind of bipartisan result for this crisis or future ones. So, Mr. President, I'm going to work hard on amendments to potentially tailor and remove some of the red. In the meantime, I think anybody who supports the bill that's coming over from the House should seriously consider whether they're being honest to the American people and their constituents. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.